The years 1941 and 1942 were a time of great upheaval and change in World War II. The Axis powers, led by Germany and Japan, made significant gains in both Europe and Asia. However, the Allies also began to turn the tide, with some key victories that would ultimately lead to their victory in the war. The Eastern Front. On June 22, 1941, Germany launched Operation Barbarossa, a massive invasion of the Soviet Union. The Germans quickly advanced, capturing vast swaths of territory. However, the Soviets refused to surrender, and the war on the Eastern Front became a bloody stalemate. By the end of 1942, the Germans had been pushed back from Moscow and Leningrad, and the tide of the war was beginning to turn. The North African Campaign. In North Africa, the British and Commonwealth forces were initially on the defensive against the German and Italian forces. However, in 1942, the British launched a counteroffensive, and by the end of the year, they had driven the Axis forces out of Egypt and Libya. The Pacific War. In the Pacific, the Japanese had launched a series of surprise attacks in December 1941, capturing much of Southeast Asia and the Pacific Islands. However, the Americans soon began to fight back, and by the end of 1942, they had won a decisive victory at the Battle of Midway. This victory marked a turning point in the Pacific War, and the Allies began to push the Japanese back. The Holocaust. In addition to the fighting, the years 1941 and 1942 also saw the intensification of the Holocaust. The Nazis began to systematically murder Jews in concentration camps and other extermination facilities. By the end of 1942, millions of Jews had been killed. Conclusion. The years 1941 and 1942 were a time of great suffering and loss. However, they were also a time of great courage and determination. The Allies fought back against the Axis powers, and by the end of 1942, they had begun to turn the tide of the war.